Marriage is hard. It's not as easy as the movies make it look. Sure, you have some really great romantic movie moments. You know, you wake up with the same person every day. You go to sleep with the same person every day. You make memories with the same person every day. But a lot of things go into that no one is really ready to have the conversation about. And one of those things is the acceptance of family on both accounts. For example, in-laws. Is it important in your marriage that your mother like your spouse? Is it important to you if your father likes your spouse? Do you care if your spouse likes your parents? In my case, my wife wasn't really concerned as to whether or not I liked her mother. I think her main concern was that me and her mother not kill each other the day before the wedding. This is the one with my monster-in-law. The day I met my future mother-in-law, I was a nervous wreck. I had just gotten off of a 12-hour shift at work, and my girlfriend had picked me up from work and said, you know, I'm going to take you back to your house. You can pack an overnight bag. We're going to go to the beach tomorrow with my mom and my aunts and my little cousins. And I said, okay, cool. It was the first time I was going to be meeting not only my girlfriend's mother, but also my girlfriend's children. It was going to be the first time I was going to meet any member of her family, and it was quite nerve-wracking for me, but especially on an account that I was going to be meeting her mother. Other than my girlfriend, no one else that I had ever been with romantically had ever felt me important enough or that much of an imprint on their life to introduce me to their mother as what I was. That is, I've been introduced by a lot of my girlfriends as a friend or a colleague or a coworker or just someone that's just chilling. I was never brought home to anyone's mother and introduced as, you know, Mom, this is my girlfriend, until I met my wife. So that night, I'm a nervous wreck. I'm getting dressed. I'm packing a bag. I'm having this whole conversation with my mom from 3 rooms away about how do I look? Am I going to be okay? What do I say? Like, what do I do? I'm nervous. So I go and I meet her for the first time, and she is so down to earth. Like, she's half lit, smoking a cigarette on the porch, talking shit, braiding her sister's hair in the kitchen, and just being a normal person. I was so relieved that it wasn't something a lot more serious. I literally had this vision of Angela Bassett and Jumping the Broom. Like, that was how her mom was going to be. And ironically enough, she wasn't Angela Bassett, but later on down the line, she started to turn into Loretta Devine. So initially, my girlfriend's mother and I got along great. We smoked together, we played cards, we talked shit, we did shots, we got along. It was great. I was spending a lot of my days off there, my weekends. You know, we would go out all the time and we would just do stuff, all of us together, me, her, and her mom. So I thought it was actually kind of great, like, cool. You know, I was used to hanging out with my mom and going to the bar with my mom. So going out with my girlfriend's mom really didn't faze me because it was just like having another adult, another friend, like someone else to talk to. So I got really comfortable with her. Fast forward to about a year later, we're planning this trip to Orlando to go to Universal Studios. It would have been my first time in Orlando, my first time at the park. And it also happened to fall on the 1-year anniversary of me and my girlfriend dating. So we fly down, we're there for a couple of days, and on the day of our anniversary, I decided to make a post on Instagram. I was a huge social media person at the time. I literally lived and breathed by how many likes I got on an Instagram post. So I made a 1-year anniversary post to my girlfriend. We took some pictures in the pool that day, the jacuzzi, stuff like that, cute pictures throughout the year that we've been together, and I posted it. I thought that was it. You know, she said, oh, you're so cute and gay, oh, you're so lame, kissed me, whatever. It was cool. We go out to dinner. We're all sitting at the restaurant. I get ready to order my margarita and my food, and all of a sudden, my girlfriend's mom just starts losing her mind. Like, I don't even know why the fuck I came. I'm taken aback because, mind you, the entire time we've been down here, we've all been getting along. We went to the park, we went out, we did stuff together. I saw nothing wrong with what was going on. So me and her both looking at each other kind of confused, like, well, what do you mean? She was like, well, that girl posted a status on Facebook about you guys and your 1-year anniversary, and I'm not in any of these pictures, and yet we're all down here together. If I wasn't here, had my own pictures, I wouldn't even be able to tell that I was here with you. Obviously, I hit a nerve. I didn't think it was that serious. I'm pretty sure my girlfriend didn't think it was that serious, but I apologized. Oh, but she wasn't done. She then continued to go on this tirade for about 45 minutes in the middle of a restaurant, to the point where we ended up just packing all of our food up and leaving. We got back to the hotel. She continued her rant about how she doesn't understand how, oh, this can't just be about us all hanging out and whatever and doing stuff. Why did it have to be about our relationship? And I really asked my girlfriend, like, did I do something wrong? Like, I was just excited. Like, at the time, that was the most serious relationship I'd ever been in. So I was really just over the moon happy at the fact that, we'd lasted a year. We worked through a lot of our shit. We were, building a real serious relationship. We were engaged. Like, I didn't want anything else to get in the way. So I was just really excited. So that trip was kind of a little Mind you, this is July. August. My girlfriend and I went out of town for the day. And when we came back, it was like 11 o'clock at night. And, we're getting ready for bed. And all of a sudden, my girlfriend's mom comes bursting up the stairs, knocking on the door, saying that bitch stole my money, meaning me. I had no idea what the hell she was talking about. Like, I literally had no idea what was happening. But I literally said, like, I can open my purse, my pockets, my drawer, everything. I literally emptied my entire dresser onto the bed and said I didn't take anybody's money. And she goes on this whole rampage about how, oh, she can't believe that her daughter let some slut in here and was stealing from her and blah, blah, blah. Fast forward about 3 hours, and the entire fucking family is out on the front porch having a whole meeting about what an awful person I am and how they can't believe that my girlfriend chose me over them and oh, blah, blah, blah. And it all blew up. Then, a little more down the line, it is September, which is my girlfriend and her mother's joint birthday celebration that they always do. They're a day apart. So naturally, there's this huge trip planned to the Dominican Republic. And we all go. It's a great time. Everyone's getting along. It was just 3 of us again, which was a big no-no because we all agreed we weren't going to do anymore, just the 3 of us going away. But, we thought maybe we could make it work. It was my first time at an all-inclusive. I was having a ball. It was a great time. And then in the airport, all 3 of us get into a screaming match. Basically, if I were to sit here and list every single time that my mother-in-law and I got into an altercation while we were out of town, it would take a lot more than about a 20-minute episode. But since I'm trying to keep all of this under 30 minutes, I will fast forward to the real quintessential moment when I realized that I was dealing with someone who was actually the equivalent of a monster. My wife and I got married October 27th, 2021. And we got married at Universal Studios in Orlando, and it was probably one of the most beautiful days of my entire life. And despite all of the shit that happened prior to it, I do not regret anything. I don't regret going there. I don't regret getting married. I don't regret any of it. But only a mere 12 hours before our vows were exchanged, my mother-in-law decided to show her ass. And at our rehearsal, our run-through of the ceremony, she got offended because she wasn't in the wedding procession. Obviously, as you've heard, the entire year and a half prior to us getting married, she wasn't exactly supportive of our relationship. So naturally, my girlfriend didn't feel comfortable with having her in the procession. However, her children were, and her father was, and our best friend was. So it made sense. But she wasn't in the procession because she wasn't supportive of our marriage. So we're at the rehearsal. It's the day before the wedding. We're getting ready that night to go out for our little mini bachelorette girls night out. And we get in the car to go back to the hotel, and all of a sudden she just starts spazzing. how she doesn't understand how we can do this and how her daughter can get married to someone she barely knows and how she could do this to her children. And it's just this huge ongoing rant about how she truly feels about me. Mind you, throughout the entire course of the last year and a half that we'd been wedding planning and doing everything, and after the huge explosion on the front porch the summer prior, her mother and I really don't deal with each other at this point. We just avoid each other as much as we can. I try to keep my distance. I don't, put my 2 cents in if she's saying certain shit, but today was different. She's saying all of this in a minivan with me, my girlfriend, our best friend, and the 2 kids. And we're all driving from the event space where we were going to be exchanging vows the next day back to the hotel to get ready for these bachelorette night. The kids are in the car, and you're having a whole rampage with your daughter about whether or not her getting married to the person sitting directly next to your grandson is a good idea. You're saying it vocally loud enough so that the kids hear what you're saying. You're having a whole mental breakdown with a whole other person in the car that is not family. So naturally, I started to get slightly irritated. And then when my son started crying because he thought that he had started this argument all on his own, I snapped. And I started screaming at her, and I just blew up. And I told her, this isn't the right time. This isn't the right place. You're making the kids cry. This isn't what this is supposed to be. This is your daughter's wedding week. This is important to her. Take me out of it. Take me out of the equation. This is your child. This is your child who you love and who loves you back. And you're honestly sitting there and putting her through this the day before she's supposed to be getting married. And you don't think that that's wrong. But I had finally expressed myself to her in a way that I never did before because I was fed up. Mind you, prior to all of this, she had been calling every relative on my girlfriend's side of the family and telling them lies about me, that I was stealing, that I was a liar, that I was abusing the kids, that I was cheating on my girlfriend, that, she got this girl laid up in the house and she goes to work all day and the only thing she knows how to do is sleep around and stuff like this. She had been lying on me for months leading up to the wedding. She had poisoned every member of the family against me, had tried to poison the kids against me. So I had finally lost my mind. And although I do not in any way, shape, or form condone disrespecting anyone of any age, of any stature, in any area whatsoever, I do condone sticking up for yourself. And that's what I finally did. It was about almost 2 years into our relationship, but I finally gave her a piece of my mind because it was completely unnecessary. However, our wedding day did go off without a hitch, and my father-in-law, God rest his soul, was probably one of the only people to keep me fully together that day. But I learned in dealing with her and in dealing with the situation that I knew was going to happen once we got home from the wedding was that sometimes it's okay to just take a breath and not necessarily react all the time. Because that wasn't the end of the situation. So we were in Orlando for about 13 days. And the wedding week was only one half of that. So we were down there for a whole other week, all of us together. And mind you, we had just had this huge blow up the day before the wedding, the day of the ceremony. And now we're all going to be compacted into one hotel room for the remainder of our stay. Me, my wife, the kids, and her parents. So you now have these 2 groups of people that have been nicely separated by opposite hotels for a week while all of this nonsense happened, and now we all have to stay together and act like we're all best friends. Well, that didn't really end well either. We were at Dave & Buster's with the kids about 2 days before we were getting ready to leave, and my mother-in-law chose that time again to have another outburst about how she didn't condone our relationship, how she doesn't understand our relationship, how she doesn't understand how my wife could leave her ex-husband for somebody like me. So many awful, horrendous things being said. Mind you, I'm just trying to keep the kids away from the conversation because it went from being about our relationship and our marriage to it now becoming about our sex life. And the one thing that my wife and I do not do is you couldn't even tell the kids prior to us getting up and exchanging vows that we were even in a relationship. We do not do PDA. We never did. And it's not even just a gay thing or a same-sex couple thing. It is a respect thing. My wife does not believe in PDA in front of her children of any kind, whether it's gay, straight, or otherwise. So for the kids to hear stuff about sex toys and vibrators and dildos and strap-ons and shit in the middle of fucking Dave and Buster's, it was inappropriate. So I'm trying to keep the kids away from it. My wife's trying to defend our relationship. And finally, we just all agreed we would go home and that would be the end of it. My mother-in-law chose the day before they were going to go home to tell everybody that she was no longer going to be the child care person when it came to the kids in between school hours. Because prior to that, she was the primary caregiver for the kids while me and my wife worked. Her and her husband, they both took care of the kids in between school, did pickups and drop-offs and stuff like that, and took care of them until one of us came home from work. She decided that since her daughter chose to be with me, over listening to anything she had to say, that I would now be the sole person responsible for the kids. This is the first week of November of 2021, and that is how my year started. My wife asked me to quit my job and stay home so that she could work 2-3 jobs and try to get up enough money saved so that we could move out of her mother's house. And life took a turn. On November the 8th, my father-in-law was diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer. And he passed away a year ago on January 3rd. So from the time that we came home from the wedding until January 3rd when he passed, it was literally just conflict all the time. It was fighting all the time. It was negativity all the time. And the day my father-in-law passed, I realized that I couldn't hold on to this anger and this hatred for her anymore. I could no longer hate this woman. Not even because I forgave her, because I forgot all the horrendous things that she has said to me, but because I realized in that moment, I couldn't continue this hatred train going into a new year. I couldn't keep the hatred train going, knowing that her husband just died. And so I decided in that moment to no longer hate her and to give her small sliver of empathy that I had left in my body to give. And over the course of the last year since he's been gone, our relationship has gotten slightly better. She finally learned over time that I, in fact, was not the person stealing from her house. I was not, in fact, the person lying to her and doing sketchy shit. I, in fact, was being faithful and loyal to her daughter, and I was never doing anything awful to them kids. But at the end of the day, I also showed her that as a human being, despite how much she hated me and all of the horrendous things that she has said to me, when she lost her husband and had nowhere else to go, nowhere to turn, no friends, nobody to lean on, I was there for her. And at the end of the day, I kind of give myself just a small little pat on the back for that, because 3 years ago, that wouldn't have been me. 3 years ago, you couldn't have did that to me and I would have been okay or been able to help you up in your darkest moment, but I needed to grow. And the moral of this story, I guess what I'm trying to say, I'm not getting on this platform to trash my mother-in-law. I'm not. Because over the course of the last year, we have grown to build some form of a relationship. It may not be a friendship. It may not be as cool as we were when I first met her. We aren't dapping it up and playing cards and doing shots anymore together, but I no longer have this hatred building up inside of me for her and all of the horrible things that she has said to me, said to my wife, and said about our relationship. Now it's a level of respect as a human being that I know deep down you love my kids. Your grandkids mean something to you and they mean something to me. And at the end of the day, that's what this needs to be about. That's what all of this is for. At the end of the day, the kids are what matters. And if the kids love her and they love me, then us as a unit just have to learn how to deal with each other. And my monster-in-law, as of right now, hasn't exactly been a monster. But at the end of the day, kind of like they always say in the horror movies, they always jump. So even if you think they're dead, even if you think it's over, don't get too close, because they might just bounce back and get you.